For generations, the South China Sea has been the lifeblood of the Philippines, feeding families, fueling trade, and shaping national identity. These waters are not just a source of livelihood, but a vital artery connecting the islands, supporting millions of Filipinos who depend on the sea for food, work, and culture. The rhythms of daily life, from bustling coastal markets to the quiet determination of fishermen at dawn, are all tied to these rich, contested waters. But today, these waters are a battleground. Tensions simmer just beneath the surface, as rival ships maneuver and nations stake their claims. The Philippines faces relentless pressure from China, which claims nearly the entire sea, disregarding international law and Filipino sovereignty. Chinese ships, often larger and more heavily armed, patrol the region with increasing frequency, challenging the Philippines' right to its own maritime territory. Filipino fisherfolk and Coast Guard crews now risk harassment and violence in their own waters, as Chinese vessels patrol and intimidate. Many fishermen return home with stories of being chased away or blocked from their traditional fishing grounds, their livelihoods threatened by foreign presence. This is not just about fishing rights, it's a fight for the nation's sovereignty and future. Every confrontation at sea is a test of national resolve, a struggle to protect what rightfully belongs to the Filipino people. For years, Manila's response was cautious, hoping quiet diplomacy would keep the peace. Leaders sought dialogue, balancing the need for security with the hope of avoiding open conflict. But now, a new resolve has emerged. The Philippines is pushing back, not with force, but with truth, law, and alliances. International partners are stepping in, and legal victories have strengthened the country's position on the world stage. The world is watching as the Philippines stands up, defending not just its territory, but the principle that might does not make right. The struggle here has become a symbol for smaller nations everywhere, fighting for justice in the face of overwhelming odds. This is the story of a nation refusing to be bullied in its own backyard, a story of courage, unity, and the enduring spirit of the Filipino people. The front lines of this conflict are remote shoals like Second Thomas and Sabina. At Second Thomas Shoal, Filipino Marines hold out on the grounded BRP Sierra Madre, a symbol of defiance. Resupply missions are now dangerous, with Chinese ships ramming, blocking, and even attacking Filipino crews. In June 2024, Chinese forces assaulted a Philippine resupply boat, injuring crew and destroying equipment, a shocking escalation. At Sabina Shoal, China has blocked Filipino access, raising fears of new artificial islands and military bases. These incidents are part of a calculated campaign to erode Philippine control, one shoal at a time. Each lost reef is a blow to the nation's economy, security, and pride. The fight for these shoals is a fight to halt a slow-motion invasion. The Philippines is making a stand to defend its borders and its future. In 2013, the Philippines made a bold move and took China to court, challenging Beijing's vast territorial claims in the South China Sea. Seeking justice under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS, Manila argued that China's actions violated international rules designed to protect smaller nations' rights at sea. The 2016 Hague ruling was a landmark victory for the Philippines and for the principle that law, not might, should govern the world's oceans. The tribunal declared China's sweeping claims illegal, rejecting its so-called nine-dash line and upholding the rights of other coastal states. The Philippines' rights to its exclusive economic zone and traditional fishing grounds were affirmed, offering hope to Filipino fishermen and coastal communities. But China flatly rejected the verdict, refusing to recognize the court's authority and dismissing the decision as invalid. Instead, Beijing accelerated its island building and militarization, constructing runways, ports, and military outposts in defiance of international law. For years, Manila hesitated to press its legal win, wary of provoking China and hoping that diplomacy might yield better relations. Successive Philippine governments sought dialogue, prioritizing economic ties and regional stability over confrontation. Yet this policy of appeasement only emboldened China, which continued to expand its presence and assert control over disputed waters. Filipino fishermen faced harassment, and Chinese vessels routinely blocked access, escalating tensions and undermining Manila's sovereignty. The arbitral ruling remained a powerful tool for the Philippines, a symbol of international support and legal legitimacy. Yet for years Manila seemed reluctant to wield it forcefully, fearing economic retaliation and diplomatic fallout. Now the Philippines is reclaiming that legal victory, rallying public support, and asserting its rights on the world stage. The arbitral ruling is being used as the foundation of a renewed stand, guiding new policies and strengthening maritime patrols. The world is reminded that international law matters, and that the rules-based order is essential for peace and stability. Even when the powerful refuse to listen, the principles of justice and fairness must not be abandoned. The Philippines' fight is a test of whether rules or raw power will shape the future of the seas, not just in Asia, but for the entire world. The stakes are nothing less than the credibility of the global order and the hope that justice can prevail over might. Under President Marcos Jr., the Philippines abandoned quiet diplomacy for bold transparency. Every act of Chinese aggression is now documented and broadcast, ramming, water cannons, intimidation, exposed for the world to see. This name and shame strategy shattered China's narrative and rallied global support for Manila. By controlling the story, the Philippines turned its weakness into strength, forcing the world to confront Beijing's bullying. The government now wields the 2016 arbitral ruling as a shield, not a forgotten relic. Defense officials vow the Philippines will not be a victim. This assertiveness is about more than public relations. It's about reclaiming national pride and agency. The conflict is no longer hidden. It's a clear-cut case of a nation defending its rights. Even a small country can stand up to a giant, armed with truth and the world's attention. As the Philippines push back against mounting pressure in the South China Sea, its oldest and most powerful ally, the United States, stepped up with renewed resolve and a clear message of support. The partnership between the two nations, forged over decades, was about to enter a new era of cooperation and deterrence. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty, a cornerstone of their alliance, was clarified and strengthened. Any armed attack on Philippine forces in the South China Sea would now trigger direct U.S. support. This commitment sent a powerful signal to both allies and adversaries in the region. The U.S. rapidly expanded its military presence, gaining access to new Philippine bases and prepositioning troops and equipment for rapid response. These moves were designed to ensure that the U.S. could act quickly in a crisis, and to reassure the Philippines that it would not stand alone. In 2024, Washington pledged over $600 million in military aid, a significant investment aimed at modernizing the Philippine Armed Forces and upgrading key military sites. This aid included advanced equipment, training, and infrastructure improvements, making the Philippines a more capable partner. Joint military exercises, like the annual Balikatan drills, have grown larger and more complex each year. With U.S. missile systems now deployed in the Philippines, these exercises demonstrate a new level of interoperability and readiness between the two militaries. These high-profile drills are a visible warning to any would-be aggressor. Manila is not alone, and any act of aggression risks a swift and decisive U.S. response. The message is clear. The alliance is stronger than ever. The American commitment has emboldened the Philippines, strengthening its resolve to resist coercion and defend its sovereignty. Filipino troops now train and operate with greater confidence, knowing they have powerful backing. U.S. naval patrols in the South China Sea serve as a constant check on China's ambitions, projecting power and ensuring freedom of navigation in these contested waters. The presence of American warships is a daily reminder that the region is not up for grabs. The revitalized alliance has fundamentally changed Beijing's calculations. Bullying the Philippines now comes with real risks and unpredictable consequences. The balance of power in the South China Sea has shifted, and the world is watching. The Philippines' courage and U.S. support have inspired a broader coalition. In 2024, the Squad, the U.S., Japan, Australia, and the Philippines, launched joint patrols in the South China Sea. Warships from all four nations now sail together, sending a clear message. The Philippines is not isolated. Japan and Australia have deepened defense ties, providing ships, radar, and training. This web of alliances makes it harder for China to isolate Manila or act with impunity. Any attack on a Philippine vessel now risks a response from a coalition of democracies. The Squad is a shared answer to a shared threat, making the region safer for all. The Philippines is now the forward bastion of a united front for peace and stability. High-level diplomacy has matched the military buildup. President Marcos Jr. has secured strong support from Washington, with multiple White House visits and new defense agreements. U.S. policy has remained consistent, with top officials reaffirming the ironclad alliance in Manila. The Philippines has also forged new trilateral ties with the U.S. and Japan, launching joint naval exercises and capacity building. These summits have elevated the South China Sea dispute to a global issue, not just a regional one. By internationalizing the conflict, Manila has raised the stakes for Beijing. Any aggression now challenges not just the Philippines, but the interests of the world's leading powers. Diplomacy is now as crucial as deterrence in defending Philippine sovereignty. Despite rising tensions, Manila and Beijing keep diplomatic channels open to avoid disaster. The bilateral consultative mechanism provides a forum for crisis management and de-escalation. In 2024, several meetings helped diffuse dangerous incidents and allowed vital resupply missions to proceed. These talks rarely resolve core disputes, but they prevent total breakdown and reduce the risk of war. Even amid hostility, pragmatic solutions have been found to manage flashpoints. The Philippines' dual-track approach, firm resistance and persistent diplomacy, keeps options open. The relationship with China is complex, defined by both confrontation and cooperation. As both nations mark 50 years of ties, they walk a tightrope between conflict and communication, with regional peace at stake. The Philippines' new stance is more than policy. It's a transformation of national spirit. Once resigned to being overshadowed, the country now stands tall, united by pride and purpose. The bravery of Filipino sailors and Coast Guard crews has inspired the nation. Transparency has empowered citizens, making the struggle for sovereignty a shared cause. Globally, the Philippines is a model for small nations resisting coercion without war. By combining law, diplomacy, and information, Manila has written a new playbook for the world. The fight for the South China Sea is a fight for a rules-based order, not just for one nation's future. In breaking free, the Philippines lights a beacon of hope for all who value justice and freedom.